Guys, today we are going to be discussing a topic I've wanted to discuss for a little while. Uh, because the WJA strike has stopped since they've reached a deal, it was announced the other day, I think, yeah, by Deadline and a bunch of other uh, sources that are real. Not like the trash websites who like just reporting fake stuff, but that Marvel will be hearing pitches for their new X-Men movie, and they'll be hearing them for the next few months. And I think they hope to go into production maybe by like mid or the near the end of 2024 on a new X-Men project. So today I just kind of want to discuss, like what kind of want to see from these X-Men movies, because I do hold the Fox movies. I like most of them. I hold them in a special place in my heart because that was my first really introduction to the X Men. Like seeing the 2000 X Men with Hugh Jackman, James Marsden, Frankie Jensen, and Halle Berry, with like those were the X Men I knew. But I don't want Marvel to copy the same formula, and I want to go through like what I want to see from an X Men movie, and what characters I want to see. So yeah, let's jump into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that I don't want to see an overinflated roster of X Men. I don't want to see 10 to 12 characters in one movie because it would be so oversaturated with characters and like so many storylines interweaved together. Like if you look at the X Men Apocalypse and those movies, they introduce so many characters at one time. They introduced Cyclops, they introduced Jean Grey, they introduced Nightcrawler, they introduced Psylocke. They were introducing Apocalypse. They had some more Quicksilver stuff they're going through. They had Mystique in there. So many characters, so many different things going on. They had Angel as well. And it's like it's too much information at one time. This is what I think they should do. You start with five X Men, just like the OG comic did. And my five I would start with are Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, and Angel, the five OGs, the five starters of the book of the comic. And then you're probably thinking, why not Wolverine? It's like we've already had a bunch of Wolverine, and I still think we after Deadpool 3 we need time to adjust to getting new Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman's gonna be Deadpool 3. We're gonna love him. It's his last time, most likely last time. Maybe since Heroes, who knows? But we need. I would save Wolverine for future projects. Do a standalone Wolverine project for first, or maybe introduce him in the second or third movie. Yeah, the reason I think those five are really good to start out with. I think that each of them like kind of combat each other. And let's just see what I'm looking for from each character. Let's go through like what I want to see from each character. Let's talk about Cyclops first. In the past, he's always been the guy who doesn't get with Jean Grey. He's always played the guy. Oh, there's Jean. He's just the love interest. He doesn't do anything. They never really shown Cyclops as a leader. It's always been, oh, Wolverine's leader, X Men, or Mystique and Beast are leader of the X Men. No, Cyclops is the leader of the X Men. He is the leader. And I don't think people know that. They always think it's Wolverine because he's the most popular. I want to see a Cyclops that can be turned into a leader. I, my personal appearance, my personal thing is I don't want them to be adults yet. I kind of want them to be like 20s. Maybe they're about to be in their junior, senior year of high school, or maybe entering college. So they can grow into the role and grow. Cause I think Cyclops, just kind of like Captain America, he needs to grow to become that leader. He needs to, gain those skills to become a leader. You look at, the cartoons, the X-Men, the old X-Men animated series, he is a stoic leader. Sure, he makes mistakes, and sure, he can be a jerk sometimes, but he does whatever he does whatever he does to protect the team. And that's what I think we've really been missing from Cyclops. And I want them to show us. I just want Cyclops to be an enjoyable character. Honestly, I don't want him to be pushed to the side because Wolverine is more popular. I think he needs to be. I think he needs to be the lead of this X Men franchise. Just how like Captain America is the lead of the Avengers. He leads that team, And that's what Cyclops does. He has to lead this team, and I think he has to find that has to he has to find that he can become a leader. And I think you kind of start him off with not really wanting to be in that leadership role, because I think unlike the other X Men, like his power is destructive. He can't. He has to wear special glasses and goggles in order to survive in the world. And that you can put some focus on that, saying how hard it is, to have a disability, because it is a disability. It's basically like he's blind. Disability. We go through that. All right. Let's talk about Jean Grey next. I feel Jean Grey has always been the love interest. She's always with Wolverine. She's always with Cyclops. I personally want to see a different Jean Grey. I want to see a Jean Grey who has had it rough, because she has had it rough. In the comics, she's killed her parents, and I want her to be broken. And I think because I also want her not to trust people. In my mind, I see that Jean Grey is a broken person, and she always has been. But she puts on this facade that she's not. That she has to be better than everyone else. I want to see in this movie that she can't trust these other people. She can't trust Cyclops. She can't trust Bobby Drake, who's Iceman. She can't trust Warren, who's Angel. They can't trust Hank because he's Beast. And over time she learns that this is their face. This is her family, and that's what I want to see. I want to see her accept this. I don't want her to immediately become Phoenix, because I feel like every X-Men movie, this makes me really mad. Every X-Men movie, it's like, we're building up to the Phoenix Wars. She's gonna go crazy. Like, you don't need to build up to that. You need to, in order to do the Phoenix Saga, you need to get the audience to love Jean Grey. You need to do like three to four movies. 3 to 4 movies of them. Maybe they go up against Magneto, going up against the Hellfire Club, Mr. Sinister. Do all that before you get into the Phoenix Saga, because when we were shown Dark Phoenix, we only had one movie with Jean Grey. That does not make any sense. One movie with Jean Grey. One movie. And how are we supposed to feel bad that, she dies in the end of the Phoenix Saga always? It's like, I didn't really know Jean Grey that well. I didn't know Sophie Turner's iteration of Jean Grey that well. Like, sure, I felt a little bit more sad with Frankie Jason, because at least it waited for 3 movies, but, like, they mixed, like, a Mutant Uprising movie with the Phoenix Force Saga, which didn't work. And if they were going to do the Phoenix Saga, I would want them to really take their time with it, because we have had 2 iterations of it, and they have not gotten it right. But yeah, personally, I just want to see Jean Grey not really have her entire story arc revolved around her being in love with Scott Summers or Logan. I want to see her grow into her power and show that she is one of the most powerful mutants to exist in the world. All right, so I'm gonna jump into the next character, which is Bobby Drake, Iceman. I want this character. We've only seen once. He was played by I think it was his last name was Ashmore. He has that twin brother who's in Smallville. He did a good job. I liked him. I want to see a different Bobby Drake this time. I want to see, if you guys ever watch like Wolverine and the X-Men, I want that Bobby Drake. I want that Bobby Drake. I want to have an ego. Thinking like, oh, I'm better than everyone else. Oh, I don't need anyone. I'm fine just the way I am. And he's like chill about everything. Just like a chill dude who like does anything he wants whenever he wants. That's the Bobby Drake I want to see. Because I do want to be the youngest, like kind of like the kid. He's like the fun kid who goes around, while Cyclops and Jean are kind of like the mom and dad. He's the kid of the group, He makes mistakes a lot, and he's reprimanded for them, but he doesn't take it seriously. And I want to see him grow and learn from his mistakes that he's made as a character. I think Iceman's a really intriguing character if you get into him in the comics. He becomes a very powerful mutant, and he's a very important member of the X-Men. He has many relationships with many of the characters. There's Kitty Pryde, and I just want to see. I personally, the audience has not seen a lot of Iceman, and I think it'd be really cool if we got kind of a new character who's kind of in the same age group as like Peter Parker, Peter Parker, supposedly the Human Torch, Kamala Khan, him kind of interacting with that. Because if you look back, Iceman's been in the Spider-Man cartoons, and like in the Ultimate Comics, him and Peter Parker have a very close relationship, which I really liked about that comic. But yeah, I want to see an Iceman who has an ego and who thinks he's better than everyone else and thinks he can do it all on his own because he's the guy. I'm the guy. I don't need this guy who shoots laser beams. I don't know this guy with rings. I don't need this girl who can read minds. I don't need this guy who turns into a blue furball. Honestly. All right, let's jump into the next character, Beast. I Beast has been portrayed as a very strong character in the movies. He's like kind of like the leader, but kind of like the grandpa of the team. Giving advice to everyone. Uh, I want to see a Beast struggling with you know being this monster. I think that what did something that did really well was the was an X Men Evolution when they introduced Beast. If you guys show that as one of my favorite X Men animated shows of all time, I love that show. It's such a unique take on the X Men. I want to see a Beast, where he can't leave. He doesn't want to leave because the world rejects him because he looks different and he's different, and we can get into racism and stereotyping with this character, which they never really dived into the older X Men movies, and even and Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. And I want to see a Beast who's he's strong, but inside he's very shy and very weak. He doesn't feel comfortable. And he's made fun of. He's the butt of the jokes. Maybe Iceman makes a few jokes about him because like, oh look, you're just Bigfoot and stuff, and they joke about him. And he doesn't clack back about it because like I was like okay, because he wants to be accepted by people. I want this Beast to want to be accepted. That not want to be accepted, but kind of, how do I put this? I want to be an outcast, and that's what really the X Men is about, is a group of outcasts coming together. And I want Beast to be kind of like the face of that outcast because he's the one who looks the most different. Iceman, like Cyclops looks human. Jean Grey, she looks human. Iceman, he can turn back into human because she's ice. And Angel, he's human, but he just has wings. You look at Beast, he can't become human. He has to suffer with knowing that he is this monster. But I think the goal that they should set for him is, even though he's a monster, that doesn't change his personality, doesn't change who he is. The Beast is not the Beast like a scary beast. He is a kind and an intelligent person. He cares about people, and I think that's what I kind of want them to dive into, like saying like, even though he's a monster, he's the nicest X-Men. He is sweet, kind, and cares about people, and that's what I want this movie to dive into. Now let's get into the last character of the main X-Men characters. Talk about some of the other characters. Angel. I have been very disappointed of how the OG X-Men have displayed Angel, because he has always been a character who's not even a side character. He's like a cameo. Like in X-Men Free the Last Stand, they had a little arc with him, and he's like, oh, show up at the mansion. He doesn't do anything. Nothing else happens. You never see him again until Apocalypse, where he fights Nightcrawler. He's all pissed, and then he turns into Archangel, and then he dies. The thing about Angel is that he is a rich kid. I want to see a spoiled jerk. I want him to be like, I'm from a rich family. I'm from a rich family. I don't need these guys. I have everything well off. Nothing's different about me. I want him to be thrown into this world and knowing that even though you have money and success, you're still not gonna receive racism for how you are, because a lot of the X Men is about racism and stereotyping. We look at groups in the X Men universe that go against mutants. We got the Purifiers, which that would be really cool arc to see with Purifiers. And yeah, I want to see Angel as a cocky guy who has to learn how to be part of a team. He has to learn to be part of a team because he thinks just because he has money and he's rich that he doesn't need part of it. And I think each X-Men character is going to grow in a way to trust each other, to rely on each other. And that's what you need. Alright, so that's the 5 main X-Men that I want to see in this first movie. Let's talk about some of the other characters. No Magneto. Do not put Magneto in this movie. We have had too much of Magneto. He has been almost in every X-Men movie except the Logan movies. Except the Wolverine one-off movies. We need a break from Magneto. We need to set Magneto up as, he is the ultimate bad guy in the X-Men. Not the ultimate, but one of the ultimates. And we don't do X-Men, we don't do Magneto or the Brotherhood in this movie. No, 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 no. We do Juggernaut. I say we do Juggernaut in this first movie. Because he is a character people don't know about, and he is a special relationship to Charles Xavier, because he is his half-brother. And I want to see, kind of more of the Xavier family. I want to, my main goal for this film is that maybe Juggernaut captures Professor X, holds him hostage, and then the X-Men have to go off and save him. Save the Professor. But they're also learning all this past about the Professor, because Professor Xavier has always been shown as, he's the older guy they can go to for advice. And he's so good, there's no flaws with Professor Charles Xavier. No flaws. But what if we dive deep into the history of Professor X and see how he's treated, other people in his family before he became the professor we all know and love? And that's what I want to see. Of course, have Professor X. Don't have Professor X be a main character. Have him be kind of, the Maria Hill, Nick Fury type character in the background. Another character I think that needs to be in here is Moira McTaggart. Not the Moira McTaggart we knew from the reboot X-Men universe, but a different Moira McTaggart. Moira McTaggart kind of like Amanda Waller, She goes to the X-Men saying, you guys need to go here, stop Juggernaut, do all that, and save the day. And she is cold and disheartening, and, she is also a past with her with Professor. And this is a movie about the X-Men learning to accept who they are while also learning about the past of someone who they admire, who they look up to. And that's how I would do the movie. I look at a movie. I know this is weird, but I kind of want like the style of the Suicide Squad. Not as dark, because no one's gonna see the R-rated X-Men movie. But you look at the Suicide Squad and see these. You have these group of like 5 or 6 individuals coming together and working together as a team. There's emotion there. You care about the characters. By the end of the movie, you care about King Shark. You don't want to see Polka Dot Man die, even though he does. You fall in love with Idris Elba's character. You care. You don't want to see Rick Flag die, even though they kill Rick Flag. That's what I want. I want to see something that the Fox movies never got right with the X-Men franchise, except for Deadpool. They got Deadpool right. And Logan, yeah. I want us to care about not just Wolverine, not just Professor X. I want us to care about all these characters. And start small. You don't need a huge roster. You don't need a huge, expansive roster of X-Men characters to start off. There are so many characters. But start off with these 5. Start off with the OG X-Men. And maybe, you get to the second one. You get to the second X-Men movie. And then you introduce characters like Storm. You introduce characters like Rogue, Wolverine, Colossus. You get characters like that. Gambit. I'd love to see Gambit, but I want them to wait. They need to start off kind of like what they started with MCU with. Start off with a Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk. We was very small at first. Not a lot of characters. We don't need to oversaturate it, and we do not need cameos in these X-Men movies. I know Deadpool 3 is the exception, but in the first X-Men movie, we do not need, a cameo by anyone. We don't need, to put like, oh, here's a random Jubilee kid, I don't want them to establish the school yet. This is the first class. This is the first team of the X-Men. The first time they're building the team. And that's what I want to see. X-Men is probably my most anticipated project out of anything I was doing. And I hope they get it right. I hope they get X-Men right. Because it is, by my definition, X-Men should be popular than Avengers. But they haven't made it popular. Because the movies aren't as good as the Avenger movies. You know, they tell the same stories. They're the same. You know, we got Dark Phoenix twice. You know, Magneto's in every movie. You know, he's goes good, the bad, and good, the bad. But yeah, guys, that is my opinion on what Marvel should be looking for in an X-Men movie. You know, don't make a huge, expensive roster. You know, don't start it off with like an Avengers Infinity War type movie where they fight Apocalypse. Start small. You know, start with an antagonist who's connected to the X-Men, but not connected to the characters, connected to the guy they look up to in Charles Xavier. And then maybe as an end credit scene, you tease Magneto, you tease Mr. Sinister. I would love to see Mr. Sinister in these movies. You know, maybe even make him in the first movie, the villain, because he is such a cool villain. But we never got him. We got teased in the X-Men movies of Mr. Sinister, but we never got him. He's such a cool character. You know, and he's obsessed with Cyclops and Jean Grey. He's a it's such a cool character. And there's so many cool characters besides Magneto and Wolverine you can dive into. You can dive into all these different sections of this universe. And there's so many themes in the X-Men that are so relevant today. You know, with racism, stereotyping, people who are different, people who look different. You know, I think that this, if they can do it right with X-Men, they can make a franchise. This can be a franchise that's as popular or even better popular than the Avengers movies. You know, these movies could make up to $1 billion, $2 billion if they get it right. If they do not rush. If they build up the universe and look at it as the start of something new, not something adding to the overall story. You know, I think they need to like maybe take a whole phase to focus on the X-Men because it's such an expansive universe and so important to get right with everything in it. But yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about right now, guys. You know, if you guys like this type of video where I talk about, you know, upcoming news, upcoming stuff I'm excited about, I have some video ideas. You know, we might be talking about Captain America: Brave New World and why that movie might not be as great as it looks. And you know, maybe we look at some of the DC projects and ones that I'm most excited for. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this first episode. We're be calling this "Let's Talk About It" series. You know, where we talk about things that are in the movie world, in the TV world, in the video game world, and that's what we're gonna be talking about on this little episode series I'll be creating. You know, we're still doing reactions, we're still doing gameplay throughs, still doing reviews, but this is something we're going to start doing to, you know, differentiate the channel from other channels. Not just be a reaction channel, but talk about movies, talk about stuff we want to talk about. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment on the video, and please follow all my social media, you know, so we can create more videos like this, and we can keep growing the channel. You know, the goal right now is to get to 100 subscribers. You know, I want to get to 100 subscribers. So yeah, please join me on this journey, alright? I know you guys want to, okay? Alright, see you guys later.